Hey guys, and welcome back for the finale of Shadow the Hedgehog. I hope you've played through the game 10 times, otherwise you ain't going to last, story, so let's do this shit.
You know, by this point, you've played the game 10 times, do you really... I suppose you're going to want to just conclude it and think, yeah, I'm done.
The funny thing is, I did that all in one day. When I originally played the game, I went through, I think, two and a half bottles of Coca-Cola.
Chaos Emeralds. You poor soul.
Also, considering we just finished the True Dark Path, and I guess you could like do it in any order, you just get like warped to the Black Comet here.
Yeah, it's one of these things that like it's kind of implying that there's this one ending that's the canon one, and the others are all sort of what ifs.
Yeah.
And that sort of really takes, you know, the immersion out of it. Especially if you've done what we've done, where we've just finished, say, Pure Evil, and it's like, oh, that didn't matter.
No shit.
Yes, we've just seen the result of that.
I've said it multiple times, bat-human thing. I even said it on Twitter.
Oh god, like if you're gonna blow up the planet, you got to live tweet that shit.
What?
Their greed, thirst for power, and affinity for betrayal has them on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, come on. Are you trying to, like, take the moral high ground here?
Of course he is. He's a terribly written villain.
The Black Arms as a species conquers planets. They enslave people.
It's just great, you know, how much of a clusterfuck it comes to.
It's like at this point, I'd rather just have Dark Guy. At least he's silent.
He's just like, but I wouldn't say malevolent evil. He's just like a force. He's a force of nature.
It's the same with Chaos, really.
Yeah, he's a shit boss though. Oh, look, we've got something darting around the Earth. That's not just reusing the same story as the SA2.
Now, this is kind of a decent callback to SA2, where they warp the Ark, like, out of the trajectory of Earth at the end, and here they use the Chaos Emeralds to warp, the Black Comet into Earth itself. So, congrats on tying two stories together, I guess?
Yeah, and I suppose it's also a sort of callback to SA1, obviously, when you get perfect chaos just utterly obliterating the city.
Yeah, I think you reached a little bit there, but like one thing that I've noticed, a lot of the moments that you think, oh yeah, this is cool about this game or this game's story, it's all, look, you remember SA2, right? You know,
That's true.
It's so reliant on the material that you've already established, that you've already done, and I guess that makes sense in that this is Shadow rediscovering things, but like there's not really that much new that you remember outside of the stuff that you remember because it's bad.
Look at this shit. I hope you guys like retcons, because you're getting one right now.
Yeah, it's like, we've got to imagine, like, compared to all the stuff we've known from beforehand, now it's just, oh, Black Doom's gone and had a wank in a cup, right, okay, that's our story.
Yep, that's basically it. You didn't say it very tastefully, but that's essentially how Shadow was created.
Yeah.
Man, this is fucking dumb. Like, when I say I like Shadow the Hedgehog, I like it because it's silly. But that means I acknowledge that it's silly.
I mean, I love how this is basically just a shadow. Well, no, I am your father.
It is, yeah.
Oh no.
It's literally that.
Knuckles got, like, frozen in the middle of a shit rock.
Yeah.
Special weapon, this gas.
Ah, yes, the gas that they never used at any other point throughout the entire game, which could have guaranteed them an early victory.
Also, no, it's just the pure convenience of this is going to work on all of those characters except for one.
Well, one of them's kind of like pretending not to be affected right now. Either that or he doesn't realise he can just get up.
Yeah, or, like, just let this guy carry on rambling.
Ah, go, my children. How many Sonic characters can you eat in the frozen time? It is implied that they are being devoured.
Yeah, emphasis on the word implied.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. They're just kind of like rubbing up against them.
Also, I like how it says total paralysis, and yet they could still partially move their heads and their lips and their eyes, so they're not entirely paralysed. pressurized. Therefore, this gas is a lie.
Listen to the kind words of Maria, Shadow. Come to your senses! Ew!
I remember what Maria said just before she died. Stomp on the ugly alien thing.
I remember what Maria said just before she died. I think it was, ugh. And then she just fell over.
No one can tell me what to do now.
I have decided this after going through 10 what-if scenarios.
I really had to think about this. And after a few equations, I decided that maybe the big alien guy who's taking over the world is the bad guy.
Yeah, well, fuck you, Dad. This is my rebellious stage.
Yeah.
You might think we're going, like, straight into... I'll just leave him to die, I guess. You might think we're just going, like, straight into a... I can't say anything, because Eggman's face was amazing back there. But we have, like, a last, like, story level to play through before we get to the final confrontation with Black Doom. So, since this level is so tedious, and it's kind of similar to, like, the previous, like, Black Comet levels that we went through, let's discuss last levels in,
Yes.
the Sonic series as a whole. Let's go through, just to, save time and for convenience's sake, the 3D game. So, SA1, you had sort of... The whole thing was kind of like a mystery, like a monster mystery, like we try to figure out what's going on with the ancient civilization, what led to its ruin, who is Perfect Chaos, and so on. And that ended with a pretty cool fight. Not really sure why you ran into that, but it's dead now, so whatever. And, yeah, it built up pretty well. And it was fun. I would say it was a satisfying ending. SA2, the tone of that game, I felt was a bit off for Sonic. You have like monster conspiracies, and then you have government conspiracies. And this game's gone and retcon that, so, it's kind of lost a bit of its luster in my eyes. But the Live and Learn versus Final Hazard segment is still probably the best to date for the series in terms of final bosses and such. And the final level had you going through it with all the characters using their unique skill sets, which was pretty cool. For Heroes, you just basically have a boss fight with all the teams, which is kind of boring. And then we get to Shadow the Hedgehog, in which you go through kind of a boring level, and it's repetitive and it's tedious. And the boss fight at the end is okay, but I don't know how to describe it. I think we'll need visual context, because otherwise it will just seem like I'm blabbing. And I guess for like future games that came after this, I would say the high point is like Perfect Dark Gaia and the Sonic Colors final boss, and the absolute low point would have to be Time Eater, which is a boring boss and a stain on an otherwise pretty good game.
Yeah, I would say one that sticks out to me, and surprisingly given how bland a lot of the other parts of the game are, but I quite like Solaris.
I guess.
It's the lead up to Solaris that's the problem, because End of the World is fucking shit. But then you get to Solaris and it's like, especially when you're on the second phase and you got that instrumental version of his world playing, and it's just fucking hype.
That's the thing though, you have to ask yourself, is it the music that's hyping you up, or the music plus the whole experience?
Well, there's also a multi-dimensional being. This might actually be a fair fight.
Okay. You're just a lover of Edge, really, aren't you, Flame?
You noticed.
What about you, Richie? Final, bosses or levels in the 3D Sonic games, what's your favourite?
I mean, I think... it's a difficult one. I think my general favourite in terms of end games is probably Sonic Unleashed, as I said before. Just because, even though Eggman Land itself is far too long for its own good in the HD version...
I would say, just to interject there, I think Eggman Land is probably the best final level in a 3D Sonic game. Maybe not an experience, but instead of just having you do a few miscellaneous events and then boom, final boss, or having a tedious level like this, it's a long level, sure, but it makes up the whole of last story, and then you're basically fighting a bunch of bosses, about 3 in a row before the credits roll around. So in that respect, it's a really, really good finale.
Oh, definitely. And also, it builds up. Because you get the you get the sense of awe from Eggman Land of just thinking good grief, this is challenging, it feels like we're really coming up to the end of the game now. Then you get Egg Dragoon, which is a really epic fight. And then you get into Dark Gaia and then Perfect Dark Gaia, and it's just the perfect progression to a climactic conclusion.
Yeah, and say what you will about like the Gaia Colossus segments. I like the running bits, maybe not so much the punch-out stuff.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a high point for the series in terms of like story-driven final encounters, sections, experiences. But I guess now that we've talked about that, I guess we should touch on like Professor Gerald a little bit.
Yeah.
This game robs like so much, I don't want to say like pathos, but weight from his like sorrow and such in SA2. And I know like discussing like Sonic characters in terms of being like deep characters is a bit fan wanky. I will always be the first to call out those types of arguments as like being something that the creators obviously did not intend. But he's gone from like a frail, sad old scientist who literally had everything taken away from him, and now he wants everyone to feel his loss and despair, to a scientist who is trying to like help develop something for Maria, and you'll hear this in a little bit anyway, so it's not really a spoiler. And so he teams up with aliens. How he got in contact with the Black Arms is beyond me, but I guess like the Black Comet was passing by at that point, because obviously Shadow is roughly about 50 years old biologically. And yeah, so he teams up with them, because obviously Black Doom seems legit. Don't ever trust someone with a name like Black Doom, by the way. It just seems a bit dodgy, and it just makes the whole thing seem less like a guy who got taken advantage of, and more like a guy who, well, who still got taken advantage of, but he knowingly put himself in a bad situation. It's not like, you know, the government dicked him over. No, an alien race dicked him over, because he wasn't thinking things through clearly. He was just thinking of his sick granddaughter, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Gerald's character, like you say, they've essentially undervalued what they built up of him in SA2. It's, you know, it's just a shame really, because I do like how they handled Gerald in that. It was what seemed like, because in SA2 you think of Gerald with how he is early on, and you think, oh, he was like, you sort of assume he's like Eggman. You think he's like the bad guy who just wants for his own gain.
Well, at the end of the story you do. Up until that point he just seems like a prisoner of war.
Well, yeah, but it's like you sort of have that impression of him, I guess mainly because he's related to Eggman, but like after that you start to realise that there is this sort of tragic backstory to him, and that motivates him. But then, like you say, now it's kind of, they've put that on full blast and gone overkill, and it just takes that like subtlety, I guess, away. Well, not really subtlety, but like that little touch away from it.
No, I would say salty, because they've like turned him from like a complete anti-hero who basically like turned away from like the goodness and like purity of research and science to wanting to exact revenge on everyone on Earth, not just like the descendants of the people who helped like murder Maria, everyone. And in this game, as we'll see, it tries to paint Gerald as some like really kindly grandfather figure, and that's just like, I can take a few retcons, but that's just kind of really obviously an attempt to make a character seem better after the fact. And had the arc like successfully destroyed everyone, Gerald would have been a mass genocidal murderer. So don't give me that thing like he's misunderstood.
I mean, I think the issue is that in Sonic Adventure 2 he was painted as a tragic villain. Like, and it worked. Like, you felt pity for him. Whereas here, that just sort of gets sapped away.
Yeah.
And he loses his complexity almost.
A little bit, yeah. And wouldn't you know it, all that jibber jabber got us to the end of the level. Jesus Christ, that was
success.
That was perfectly timed. This is a bit of a big close-up for you, Shadow. Can you back up a little bit?
Yeah. But I should probably point out, during that level, there were a couple of sections where there was literally no way to progress other than grind enemies. That is literally the progression method, Chaos Control.
Yeah, we discussed this earlier.
Don't understand, do you?
Look at the pretty rainbow, Shadow. It compels you to stop trying to be a player hater.
I've heard enough. You're boring me to death, Black Doom.
Thank
You're
you.
going down.
Walking a bit slowly for someone who just issued a death threat.
I've always got to make it dramatic.
Yeah. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sorry, I'm just moving my arms about trying to get a swig of water.
Then you think.
Yeah, so he didn't just help create Shadow. Shadow is basically his baby.
Yeah.
Just who are you?
I am your father.
Dun-dun!
Created from my blood.
And that's one of those lines where I basically went from, oh, this is a silly game, to this is an embarrassment of a game. Because you take a look at, and I'm kind of spoiling my conclusion, and like final thoughts here, but you take a look at 06, that was very clearly a travesty which damaged the Sonic franchise in a way that's never really recovered from. People still bring up the Sonic cycle, for example. This is just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these guys are here.
Oh yeah, I think this is the first time beyond Charmy that we've seen the Chaotix crew in our run.
Indeed it is, actually.
Because they're sort of tucked off to the semi-hero and semi-dark route for the most part. But I don't know how much we actually see for what they're doing. All they're saying seem to be like just faffing around with a computer. It doesn't seem really specific as to what their mission actually is.
The Chaotix, they're the key to all of this. Without them, nothing will work, because they're a funnier group of like Sonic characters than we've ever had before.
I guess they have that team dynamic that just they play off each other really well.
Shadow, my son.
Oh, they've executed retcon.exe. Here it comes.
Oh, God.
Look at that guy looking like the fucking Lorax over there.
It's a good thing we have these screens just loitering here, just in case we need some exposition.
To shut down this research facility.
Wait, so are they on the Ark or the Black Comet right now? I'm confused.
They're on the Black Comet, like Shadow and Black Doom are. This is one thing where I bitched about the loading screens earlier in the playthrough. This is the worst of it. Whenever it switches to a new area, there is a long load screen, probably about 30 seconds.
Professor Gerald?
Now listen very
I haven't beaten the PS2 version, but I've heard that it's bad or worse there.
I like the fact that all this time you're just meant to, or be led to believe that they're slowly being digested.
Yeah, it's just sort of biting away at their feet or something, you know?
Oh, it's a good job we invested in these really thick leather soles.
No, it's fine. They're just exfoliating their shoes. So obviously you can get those little fish to do that with your feet. So it's basically just... Black Doom is doing a really good thing for all the Sonic cast, because he's just making their feet all nice and soft.
Okay, so did you get that? He developed the Eclipse cannon not to blow up the Earth, you know, where the cannon is pointing, but to destroy the Black Arms. Seems legit.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Grandfather. Shadow and I will protect this planet.
Why is she there? He's making important, you know...
Yeah, top secret files right here. Look at her fucking kawaii smug face though.
Shadow is all
Yeah, it's good to know that even, you know, mad scientists have bring your daughter to work day.
Granddaughter, I think you'll find.
Yeah.
well. Seems like you're immune to my mind control.
I probably should have put it to 11.
Control over me, Black Doom.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm here.
There's so many lines there. You could probably just paste that clip afterwards and it'd sound right.
Pass behind me.
Go on, kick him in the face, do it. Wow, he had like 10 years to teleport away from that.
Have it your way, Shadow.
Burger King.
Be prepared to meet your
Okay, this bit coming up, this bit of music, nearly makes me forgive everything in Shadow the Hedgehog. And we are going to shut up, you're going to listen, you're going to enjoy it. Have a listen.
Bye, Shadow, as you witness my true wrath.
Woo, lad! Holy shit, you will not believe the amount of goosebumps I had when I first heard that fucking segue into Live and Learn. Jesus fucking Christ.
On the soundtrack, I believe that's just called Super Shadow, that particular piece of music. And Shadow's All-Star music in All-Stars Racing Transformed is like a sort of more electronic adaptation of that like medley.
It just reminds you that for all the faults of like the Shadow game, this is still the conclusion to the Adventure Saga. And oh yeah, it's the same Shadow that we played as in SA2 and Heroes. And like throughout the rest of the game, it seems just like disconnected. But in that one moment, that one shining moment, you get a glimmer of what a better constructed game could have been. Like if they toned down on the number of excessive routes, if they actually tried to write a non-edgy story and just like a decent conclusion that didn't rely on like swearing and all that stuff in order to seem more mature than it actually is. And you know, I'm not sad per se because Shadow's not even my favourite Sonic character, but it is a shame that it didn't turn out better than just another embarrassing Sonic game for people to make fun of online and whatnot, you know?
I kind of think it's a shame that this game tanked like it did, because I think there could have been, if they'd done this right, this could have been a spin-off series exploring more of Shadow.
Maybe. I still think they should have spin-offs for other Sonic characters like, I don't know, Silver, Omega, Blaze and so on, even if they're just downloadable tiles.
I think for characters like Silver and Blaze and that, it's probably too late now, because they're all but forgotten about.
Basically.
Yeah, because it's like the Sonic series has been simplified a lot, and I don't know how much of that is just to make it more manageable, and how much of it is just a like snap reaction to "oh, Sonic shitty friends" sort of criticism.
Well, at least we know we won't ever get Big Base Fishing, which abbreviates to BBF, which I shan't go into here. Alright mate, tell us how to take down this monstrosity.
Really, what you want to do is it seems to be a sort of reskin of the Heroes Final Boss, but what I'm doing here is fully charging the Chaos Spear and then shooting him in the eye. He will Chaos Control around, and that can be a little bit irritating, just lining yourself back up when he does. But that's pretty much the bulk of it. It's not that hard once you get a rhythm going. It can be a little bit fiddly though.
I would say the biggest thing about this fight is if you wait roughly about 8 minutes in, which requires you to obviously stay on the ball with your ring count and so on, because obviously it's a super battle, if you run out of rings you will die, you will hear a clip from Eggman. A very, very short clip, which is like put at the end of a boss fight, which a lot of people probably won't even hear because they'll be focusing on killing the boss fast so as to not die, that explains that Robotnik found Shadow after the events of SA2 and put him in the pod that you see him in at the start of Team Dark's story in Sonic Heroes, and that's how he survived. End of story. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I kind of imagine that maybe their writers had got like you know, just their notes, and they saw this at the end and thought, oh yeah, we didn't explain that. Fuck, where can we put this?
It's kind of like that was sort of the entire point of what Shadow the Hedgehog was meant to be. It was like, who is Shadow? How did he survive? And they just sort of were just like, oh yeah, let's just shove it in here. It'll be fine. Nobody will care.
I mean, we kind of already knew that Shadow was artificially created by, you know, Gerald Robotnik. Did they really need to throw aliens on top of the whole thing?
They didn't, no.
Or it wasn't enough of a clusterfuck.
But yeah, just in case you didn't think this final boss was edgy enough and a fitting conclusion to the Edge Lord, you know, Supreme that is Shadow the Hedgehog and his, you know, game of the same name, this dude was, and forevermore will be, Devil Doom. Wow, that's almost blow for blow how Metal Overlord dies.
Yeah, well, too bad it's all over.
For you!
This is the end of you.
That's a funky glow filter they've got on Super Shadow there.
It doesn't look quite right, especially comparing to how he was just sort of himself but shiny in SO2.
Oh, I love this scene.
That's a cool shot when he's like close up.
I'd use it as my Twitter avatar. In fact, I might do actually. Whenever we have a new playthrough starting, I change like my Twitter handle and avatar as a way of subtly advertising, saying, please watch my Let's Plays, otherwise I'll throw a comet into like a fucking space station and blow it up.
Yeah, see, like most YouTubers just whine a bit on their stream, but no, we go full all out when our views are low.
So my question is, how did the Ark do that without the Chaos Emeralds that Shadow is already using?
Tom?
Yeah?
Just ignore that flaw in the logic. Shadow's just turned Super Shadow and transported the Black Comet thingamajiggy into the atmosphere, so by himself, I might add.
And everyone's fine, no one got eaten, you know, all's well that ends well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they were still in the Black Comet when he transported it, so how the hell are they here? But, who cares?
Yeah, oh
We're
my
done!
God. Imagine if we blew up the Black Comet with them still inside. Oh, okay, we're like really near the end here. So, Flame, 10 words or less, Shadow the Hedgehog.
It's got a lot of problems, but it's also got a lot of things I like.
Richie?
It was interesting. That's about it.
Okay.
The way we all treated
Shadow the Hedgehog. Embarrassing for the franchise, but not 06.
Abridge to Professor Gerald. Let's work to ensure peace and prosperity.
It's just one of those games that I feel it's a wasted opportunity at many points, and the reason why I say I like this game is because I do see parts I really enjoy. Certain levels are fun to replay, but it's just to play from start to finish. It's just gets a bit of a chore at times, and I find that a real letdown.
Yeah, and this ending scene is pretty poignant, I guess. But that's it for us in regards to Shadow the Hedgehog, guys. We shall leave you to watch the final set of credits. I've been ntom64, he's been the Flaming Claw, he's been XGamer Richie, and we shall see you, probably in December or so, for another Sonic playthrough. Thanks for watching, bye bye for now.
Become if I don't look back, give myself a reason for this and that. I can learn, no you turn, I'll stay right here where I'm at. Where I'm at, but I'm on my way, on my way, on my way, on my way. Here I am, made it to the end of you. Never had a chance, but I'm around. turn back.